covered the vast censorship enterprise. So the idea that there wasn't censorship is nonsense, total nonsense. We saw the weaponization of the whole of government against political opponents because they dared to dispute the efficacy of masks or had concerns about the vaccine. The idea that there wasn't censorship does a real disservice, I think, the worst abuse of the First Amendment we have ever seen in the United States of America. So I hope you continue to look at this, because I think we've just scratched the surface. And the idea that the Federal Truth Commission, how about the Disinformation Governance Board that was established under President Biden? This is Orwellian stuff. So the FTC is right. I think glad that the leadership has been shown to sort of open up and find out what other examples exist, because there's no way we're effectively going to deal with this until we admit that there was a problem. And my friend from the other side who just made the statement is just totally ignorant of the facts. And by the way, who decides the truth? Like, the government doesn't. People get to decide that, and you only get to do that in a free and open society where people have the ability to speak their minds. And so I guess, Mr. Meadow, I want to ask you this question then, I guess. What other steps can be done to ensure that people can speak their minds? I know we talk about the coordination between the government and big tech. That's certainly a thing, because that is a direct violation of the First Amendment. But I know that you've got a couple of different buckets, whether it's violating terms of service, or violating the core tenets of Section 230 protections. How do you view this and the role the FTC has?
Thank you, Senator. So I think there are two avenues through which the FTC could potentially address this kind of conduct. There's the antitrust laws. So if you have competitors colluding on content moderation standards, that could potentially amount to a violation of the antitrust laws. And on the consumer protection side, if the application of terms of service or other promises made by a platform end up being deceptive in some way to consumers, you could potentially have a concern there under the FTC Act.
And I think what Europe has really messed up on AI is it's been over-regulated, and they're sort of pushing a political bias, which is, I think, demolished Europe's chances at being a leader in this, which I guess that's good for us. But how do we avoid that? How do we avoid woke AI? How do we avoid Black George Washington? Like, what do we do to make sure that this doesn't become the next frontier for this level of censorship with quantum chips at fueling it?
Yes, I think the best thing the FTC can do within its remit is to fully enforce the competition laws to ensure that markets are not unduly concentrated or dominated by a single actor, and that consumers have choice. Ultimately, I think we can trust that the market will work if we give it a chance, but that means we have to maintain competition so that consumers can take their business elsewhere if they're unhappy with the services they've received.
Thank you. Mr. Kratsios, thank you for your willingness to serve as well. Highly qualified. I've respected you for years. We've gotten to know each other. The President's announced a national initiative to drive innovation, like the American AI Initiative. David Sachs is a great pick to be helping with a lot of this stuff, and the National Quantum Initiative. How do you view your role in making sure those programs are successful, those initiatives are successful?
Yeah, the Office of Science Technology Policy has the role in the White House to coordinate these efforts across the federal government. So whether you're driving a national strategy on artificial intelligence or on quantum information science, all a wide variety of agencies that all have a very important role to play, from basic research funding at the National Science Foundation to more applications work at some of our DOE labs to some standards related work at NIST, and where OSTP plays a more critical role as being the convener and the coordinator of these efforts across the government. And that's what we did in 45 with a variety of emerging techs, and we hope to do again in 47.
What do you think the biggest challenge is right now for the United States to be the leader? And AI gets thrown around, sort of broadly, but to be the leader in kind of innovation and obviously DeepSeek is a wake-up call. I mean, there's no way they did it for $6 million, but the fact is, I think our assumptions about how far ahead we were have been shattered to some degree, right? So this is a very serious race we have with China. What do you think our biggest obstacle is to continuing to be the leader?
I think our biggest obstacle is effectively pursuing a promote and protect strategy. So you can have and institute a set of export controls, for example, around high-end chips, but if you're not successfully enforcing those export controls and not actually limiting the access of bad actors in the PRC from accessing those chips, you're not actually protecting well. And the same goes on the promote side. You can encourage the research and development and translational research in these emerging tech fields, but if you're not effectively allocating those dollars to the biggest and hardest problems in those fields, you're not actually moving the ball forward. So I think the strategy is there. I think you just have to effectively execute on the two sides of that coin of promote and protect.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations to both of you. I think I'll just start with one question of you, Mr. Kratsios. In your testimony, you mentioned helping to double R&D spending during President Trump's first administration. You've already seen